is Dana, and I'm here to talk to you about The Boys Season 3. And my God, what a season it was! I have seen the entire third season, and this was fantastic from the beginning to the very end to what it may lead into in season 4, which I won't talk about because this is a spoiler free review. But this was by far one of the most fun, gruesome, disgusting, hilarious, well thought out seasons that I have seen. And I truly think that this is for people who are sick and tired of superhero shows, sick and tired of Marvel TV shows being shoved down our face, or any kind of Marvel movie in general, DC movie, and those who love those shows and those movies with a passion. This is when fans and anti-fans come together to unite because The Boys is literally an anti-superhero movie, but it's so incredibly well done that it feels like this is the best superhero movie we have out there. Season 3 is what happens to our characters when they're completely unrestricted. Unrestricted by what society says that they have to do, and unrestricted by what Vought has to do with them. You know, they're puppeteering. What happens when they cut those strings? And while this is spoiler free, I can say that by them being more free, expect the unexpected. Expect fantasy to become reality. And that more has to do with Homelander, but we'll get into that just a second. So, kind of catching up what happens in season 2, kind of the very beginning, we have Hughie Campbell, who we know as Jack Quaid. He has decided he's going legit, and he's working for Congresswoman Victoria Newman, who is Claudia Dumont. Basically, she's the one who's been exploding some heads. She's the anti-soup soup. People don't know she's a soup because she's anti-soup. Anyway, so they work at the Federal Bureau of Superhuman Affairs, and they're he and Vicky, who is the kind of she has another agenda that I really can't talk about, but they're working together and they think they're working together and then they're not working together, but they have successfully cut superhero related collateral damage down by like 60%. You know, this bureau is to make sure that citizens are safe from the soups, kind of what Huey always wanted from the very beginning. Remember, his girlfriend died literally in his arms, killed by A Train when he ran literally through her. So, yeah, this is, you would say this would be his dream job from season 1, but because of the development and the growth of the character, it's not really. Ah, everyone's suffering in silence. Meanwhile, Butcher, Carl Oben, and the rest of his boys, except for Mother's Milk, are struggling to adapt to their new reality of working under Huey and all of the government tape that they now have to face. So things is just literally a hot mess. Mother's Milk, I think, is having kind of the most successful time. He is, trying to leave that life behind him, stay with his family, be a father, but he runs into trouble as well. And at the levels of which the writing brings and which you see the characters is absolutely superb. So, over on the superhero side, or the soup side, as we like to call him, Homelander. Oh, remember they kind of killed off Stormfront, the good old Nazi girlfriend from season 2? Well, he's suffering. He is literally suffering because that was the woman of his dreams. That was his fantasy girl. She made him feel special and loved and wanted, and always kept telling him how wonderful and great he is and he's superior he is. And that also was a bit Nazism too, but he genuinely miss her, and he loved her dearly, and so he has to adjust with life without her and without that love that she brought. And of course, the regular people, society of America is like, yeah, you fell in love with a Nazi. So he's heavily criticized. We've seen in the trailer where he actually goes, repeating the same thing. I didn't know who she was. Love makes a fool out of all of us, and it's kind of this repeated pattern. And he's kind of stuck in this monotony of wanting to tell people how he truly feels, but also knowing that Vought won't approve of it. And he is really struggling not just with her no longer in his life, but struggling with being the soup everyone expects him to be. He's always kind of struggled, and we always seen him do dirty in season 1 and especially in season 2, but This now, it's a real breaking point. It's a breaking point to the point where he breaks. And it really, you don't know where Homelander's mindset is going to be because he literally says, screw it all. And he knows that he is the most powerful soup out there. He knows that literally no one can stop him. And with this great power does not come responsibility because he's finally thinking about himself for once, and that's not good because it's not a Superman situation. This is really bad when he starts to think for himself. So situations like what we saw on the airplane can kind of get worse than that, and they do play out without any spoilers. We see we see Homelander when he no longer gives a damn anymore, which is brilliant. Um, Also, kind of talk about it. Vought CEO Stan Edgar, played by Giancarlo Esposito, who we all know from The Mandalorian, and of course over at Breaking Bad. I forgot for a second, but he's kind of on the interview circuit where he's just assuring people that he Homelander is just, a man who fell in love with the wrong woman and that he's just like any of us and he's trying to make people feel that Homelander is okay. And there's a moment with Homelander when he's like, "Am I really okay?" And I can't spoil anything else, but he is really arrogant. And some things happen that I can't talk about, but there is kind of that face off between Giancarlo and Homelander, and it's like who really controls the power, who can manipulate whom, and we see that play through in season 3. And so what we know is that Homelander and Butcher obviously share a son, you may say, um, and that son has powers just like a Homelander, and there's really that power struggle of dynamic of fatherhood, wanting to honor his wife Bex, but also realizing this is Homelander's son. And that inner battle between, like, how do I keep this boy safe while also being really angry about the situation that has come to play. And also, Homelander is still on the quest for his son. He desperately wants to be a father. He wants to give someone what he was unable to receive, and that is genuine love, someone who's there without any kind of strings attached, because Vought created him out of a tube, and he always felt that kind of, I'm not going to say loyalty, but that kind of control, and he wants to be free, and then within that freedom would be fatherhood. These are absolutely wonderful storylines within those two, and you see them interact, the frustration that they have within each other, the hatred that they have, but also the realization that they still need each other. And so that in itself is brilliant. But again, we're dealing with a very fractured and a very broken Homelander who no longer gives a damn. And when he no longer gives a damn and he tells people he no longer gives a damn, destruction, chaos, brutality, sarcasm, just savageness ends up happening. And who can stop the most powerful superhero or soup? He's not a hero, he's a soup. Who can stop the most powerful soup out there? And you may kind of argue maybe it's Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy told him. So we have to figure out what's really going on, and I'll talk about what's really going on with Soldier Boy in a second, and Jensen Ackel. But the plot is really kind of about what happens when, and the show also dives into the smaller characters who had, their storyline is fully fleshed out. They're fully developed people. It's not like, hey, whatever happened to that guy? No, no, no. And so what was really beautiful about this is that we have A Train. When we last saw A Train, he is going through a lot of heart problems and he can no longer run because he has been abusing Compound V. And what's really interesting with this is that we see him wanting to do more for his community, not because he's a soup. He's no longer a soup because, again, he can't run and he can't use his powers, but as a black man in America, with a platform. And I think that that is a very interesting take on things. As a black man in America with a platform, he wants to bring change, not just to people in general in America, but definitely to the black community, and for them to have someone to look up to. And sometimes when you have the best intentions, that's amazing, but sometimes they're executed horribly. So yeah, there's a lot of moments where there's some things that you would think is good, but there's some things that's really bad. When Wakanda gets into it sometimes, and then there's maybe some video game marketing about slavery that I'm not going to really go into, but it's utterly hilarious. um and then of course we have the deep with Chase Crawford. Oh, black Jesus. He's a guy who, he's trying to get back into the seven, and you really want to root for him. You really genuinely feel that he wants to belong. He needs a family. He needs that direction. And we do know how much he loves Homelander. He considers him kind of a father figure. He doesn't really have anyone. He has a fish, but he just has a fish. He is married, but he kind of wants, again, that connection with the seven. He wants to belong with the seven, and in this, he is willing to do whatever he has to do in order to get into the seven. And the thing about the deep is you really want to root for him, so much so, but he is a complete and utter asshole that it makes it impossible. And he finds himself in situations that is hilarious, and you want him to live his best happy life, but he's so terrible that yeah, he's an experience. There's a lot of fishes do a lot of things with his body, and there's a lot of things that happen to his fish friends. Whew, in order for him to join back with the seven, the hazing. So anyway, we have characters like Annie January, who we all know is Starlight. We have Kamiko, who I love with all of my heart. And Queen Maeve. They're kind of that team that we've seen from the previous season with the whole girls coming together and fighting Stormfront, and they you kind of use that campaign, minus Kamiko, obviously, about here's girl power, but society doesn't really treat them that way. It's a weird thing about how a reflection of what we like to market to people, but what's really going on in society and how we really treat them. So that's really interesting. But what I really do through like the I know everything. I said nothing. I stayed silent. How exactly do I stop someone who's unstoppable? Kamiko, again, we're all sick and tired of Homelander. What can we do to get rid of him? But at the same time, she has an absolutely beautiful kind of story arc with Frenchie that is wonderful without it being romantic. You do know they genuinely love each other. They're a family towards each other, and you just watch their relationship grow and blossom, and they just feel like this, like you're peeking in on something that's just really lovely and beautiful, and you watch it flourish and grow amidst all of this chaos and kind of destruction that is going on around them. And Starlight, she is very strong. She is very powerful. We've seen that. But to watch her story arc from the very beginning, from season one to wanting to belong with the Supes, and she's willing to do anything, and the harassment that she got, and the sexual things that the deep Chase Crawford kind of did with her, to her being like, I am my own woman. I am strong. I am powerful. No one is going to tell me anything. To, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be the one who saves the day. So it's this beautiful arc that I really love that happens. Um, but a lot of things season three brings. It's very meta. It's meta. Well, we have everyday situations happening right now with the whole Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter versus there's a Soups Matter. All soups matter situation that is going on. That is absolutely just brilliant how they're able to be so observative of what's going on in actual society and to fit it into the show and not make it feel like a gimmick. It's not gimmicky. Yes, there are moments at which you completely laugh about, but it's not gimmicky. It really feels like these are living, breathing people right now in today's society having, conversations with either Tucker Carlson or MSNBC. So you really get that balance of the political scale of what they're going for. What is really interesting, what I wanted to talk to you about was the Jensen Ackel situation. I'm going to be very honest. I have not seen Supernatural. I really don't follow this wonderful, beautiful being of a man, and everything that he has gone through, or, acting just in general. I haven't really followed. He is utterly brilliant. He is so brilliant. He is brilliant where to the point where it's like I genuinely can kind of fear for Homelander because he has literally nothing to lose at this point. He is brought in to do a mission for the soups, not the soups, for the boys, sorry. And he has his own mission that he wants to do. And he is very uh, he's he's disgusting in like the best way. He's literally Homelander without just any of, what can't control him. No one can control him. He's absolutely wonderful and powerful and strong, and he knows his strength. There is some kind of uh Winter Soldier vibes with him when he was kind of brainwashed. I'm not saying that he's brainwashed, but there's some Winter Soldier things that kind of really happen with him. But it's a very different approach, and I love everything that he brings to the show. I love every episode. He really shines. It's really hard to shine in a show that is so chaotic and brilliant, but he just adds another layer to that story, and I'm like, yes, I love it. And what's really interesting also, Black Noir, Black Noir, Black Noir. He is a character that has always been in the background. He existed, but they really bring him and his story to the forefront. We get a backstory of Black Noir. If you don't know who Black Noir actually is and his actual identity, I'm not going to say anything, but for those who do, yay. Wonderful. Absolutely loved what they was able to do with him, and it was his character. He without saying anything at all, he says a lot. Yeah, he says a lot about not just representation, but also just being a soup and being in the background and observing everything. So I really do love that. And also kind of going back a little bit with the boys, Usher T. Jackson, he when I was saying that it brings real life elements into the forefront. With his character, it's really interesting because it questions who am I as a black man in today's society without my powers? Who am I as a black man in today's society with powers? And how am I able to stand up for my people, stand up for my community? Who we have a superhero or soup is kind of stormfrontish, is kind of patrolling black neighborhoods a certain way with a certain kind of unnecessary force. How am I able to stop that? What am I willing to do? And so it's really beautiful with that. And then it's beautiful with a relationship that he has with his brother, who is his coach, that we see that happens. And it's really another added layer that I genuinely love what this show is able to bring. When it comes to just other basic stuff, it's brilliant. It adds another theme. How far should good people go to defeat evil? What exactly is the definition of evil? Is Homelander truly evil? Yes, but is he someone who has never had control of his own life? And when we restrict someone from that, what are they willing to do in order to gain that control back? Did society or did Vought create this monster? He could have easily been, like a Superman situation, but instead we created a literal evil kind of being. But he's an evil being with power, not powers, I meant with feelings. So it's really interesting to see how that works. Also, it questions. Huey has a great tagline: "The high road doesn't work. I'm just so tired of losing." What happens when you're so tired of being restricted and playing, the good guy and doing things the straight bureaucratic red tape way? It's really hard to get stuff done when there's always someone or something out there trying to restrict you and control that. So, yeah, it's again, this season is absolutely brilliant. It is violent, it is gory. Now, when I said I saw two different versions of this, they sent the screeners by accident without any VFX and ADR, which is basically the sound, like when they would do the voiceovers to record it again so that you properly hear everything. It was absolutely hilarious. And I think everyone, I wish they would release that to like the general public so you could see what it genuinely takes to put together a show that relies, not heavily, but just relies on kind of CGI and special effects. So, for example, they were laser beams, and you literally look like it was like someone drew red lines out of someone's eyes, and it was like these fight scenes with like the sound coming in and out. Absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. Even when, all the stuff was added in, you really get to see how well these actors have to act in order to play these roles and make it completely believable. But I absolutely love this. Jensen Ackel, I will watch anything that he is in now. I guess I'll go watch Supernatural. I really love Winchester. I'll come back later with a review of that. But you can easily compare him to being Captain America. Kind of with the way he delivers lines is kind of like unlike you would see with Captain America when you're watching Marvel. And yeah, patience. He is very sarcastic. He is bigoted. He is a misogynist. He's disgusting. He's a terrible human being, which is why he's wonderful to be in the playground of Homelander. So there's some really interesting dynamics between Soldier Boy and Homelander. If you have not read the comics, I will not spoil it. I haven't read the comics, so I don't know if the information I know if they even changed from the comics. But it is brilliant, and Soldier Boy is just disgusting and rotten. And this whole thing, I mean, it's a masterpiece. And you want to say, oh, it's satire, and it does feel like satire, but in all honesty, it feels like it's really embedded in truth. When you have so many different political elements that's going into play here, when you have um Victoria Newman, the character Victoria Newman, and yes, she's exploding heads, but it's just uses that government control and that government puppet. And then you kind of wonder, does she have her own interest at heart? Or is she really working for the public? And you can say that about any politician. I mean, when I interviewed her, she stated that she modeled the character after AOC, and it's not an attack on AOC, and this is just a saying politicians in general, you don't know if they're working in their own interest or if they genuinely are working for the people, or if they're only working for the people that voted them in. And to watch her backstory, because there's a reason as to why she is and who she is and the relationships that she has. You watch her backstory, and certain things really do make sense when you see it played out with her in her future. So it's brilliant. It's wonderful. I loved every moment of it. This is something that I look forward to watching again. I've seen this twice already, the whole season twice. I look forward to watching it again. Season 4, I believe, is being written right now, and the way how season 3 ends, it's like I want some more. I want some more injected in my veins. What's going on? So many different wonderful storytelling elements to it that is extremely disgusting. And there's blood, there's guts, there's a lot of body parts. A lot of body parts in it. That's like, oh, we're going there. We're not just going there, but we're going inside of there. Okay, yeah. So that was really fun. We also get some other characters and other soups that is really hilarious to kind of watch, and kind of watch like their home videos of what they did, what was going through. So absolutely loved it. I recommend every episode. It was not a single episode was like, oh, that's a slow episode. Can we get to the next one? No, everything flowed together wonderfully and brilliantly, and I loved every moment of it. This again, a brilliant cast of characters. Every actor on here definitely stepped up. They had their A game. I don't know who are the gatekeepers of Emmys. I wish they would just hurry up and kind of no longer be the gatekeepers anymore, because it's really a shame that Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander, is not nominated for an Emmy. Um, Jensen Ackles, like I said, he's right up there with the performance that he delivers. It is completely anti-CW. This is completely not happy friendly. This is like your drunk uncle who doesn't care about anything and will say anything. I don't care if it's racist or bigoted or misogynistic. He'll just say exactly what he's thinking. And so their connection is really great and wonderful for those who's not read the comics. Everything to me was a big surprise here. Plenty of plot twists that help drive the story, and it does not feel gimmicky. Um, Also kind of going with Queen Maeve, she stood by Homelander's side, and she's sick of it after everything that she witnessed, and especially with that plane incident. She is just sick of it. She wants nothing to do with that anymore. And what is she willing to do to get her life back? Does being a soup really bring you joy? And you kind of see that some of these characters, it doesn't. And that's what makes it so brilliant. It's not like everyone's all happy and hokey dokey. These are people at the end of the day, and they're miserable, and they're going through things, and they're disgusted with things. So overall, again, brilliant. Love this. This comes out tomorrow. Please go watch it. I hope you love it as well. Have a great day, evening, afternoon, whatever time you're watching this, and I will see you later with more stuff. Starting tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel, we will have interviews with the cast of The Boys. Yay! So that should be fun. Thank you once again, and